All right, guys, today we're going to cover sections 13.2 and 13.3, at least part of it. And I teach these two sections together rather than separately the way your book does. So part of today is going to be from 13.2, part of it will be from 13.3, and then the next time I see you, we'll do the other parts of both sections. So what we're going to talk about first is an angle that is in standard position. Okay, so let me give you the definition and then we'll draw it on the coordinate plane at the left so you can see what it looks like. Okay, an angle in standard position is an angle with the vertex at the origin. Let's try again. At the origin, the initial side, and the initial side, that's the beginning side, that's the beginning of the angle. So the initial side is going to be on the positive x-axis, and the terminal side it is going to rotate around the origin. Okay. So once again, like I said, the initial side is on the positive x-axis, and this is where the angle starts. And here's what it looks like. Okay, if I start here at the origin and draw on the positive x-axis, that's going to be the initial side or the beginning of my angle. The terminal side, that is the one that rotates around the origin. And that's where the angle stops. So if I say that my angle is going to open up and go this direction and stop here, this yellow highlight is the terminal side. So the orange one is the initial, the yellow one is the terminal. So now, if we take a look at these next two coordinate planes down here, and you'll see in the boxes we're talking about positive angle measure and negative angle measure. You've done positive angles before, but you've not done negative. At least most of you haven't. So if I start here with my initial side, and it opens this direction and it goes to right there. Okay, there is my terminal side. How many degrees is that? Well, it should be 90 degrees. And notice which direction that terminal side rotated. Positive angle measures rotate counterclockwise. Okay, and that just means it goes the opposite direction that a clock usually does. But now, let me show you something else with angles that you've probably not done before. Okay, if I start here on the initial side and I go to here, that is 90. All the way to here is 180, and then I go 90 more is 270, 90 more is 360, But then if I come back all the way to here, I've gone one full rotation, which was 360, plus 90 more, that is 450 degrees. So you can see that those two angles start and stop at the same place, but the difference is the number of rotations that it went. And there's a name for those. We're going to get to that in just a second, okay? But for now, both of those are positive angle measures. They both went counterclockwise. Once went only 90 degrees. One of them went a full rotation and then 90 degrees. So now, let's go over here and talk about the negative angle measures. And here, we're going to have the same initial side, and we'll even have the same terminal side. But this time, instead of rotating counterclockwise, if we started here and opened the angle this direction, that is clockwise, I need to know how far that is. Well, from here to here is 90. 90 more is 180. 90 more is 270. But because we went clockwise, that is a negative angle measure, so that is negative 720 degrees. So here's your definition for negative angle measure. Those rotate clockwise. Okay, and something I want you to notice, all of these angle measures, the 90, the 450, the negative 270, they all have the same initial and terminal sides. What's different is the number of rotations that the terminal side went or the direction in which it rotated. Okay, I told you we're going to have a name for those. So let me swap sheets here and we'll get that name and a definition for it. All right, so coterminal angles. Here's your definition, and then we're going to see if we can fill in this chart here together. Okay, coterminal angles, they have the same initial and terminal sides. They differ in the number or direction of rotations. All right, so if I go back to the ones that we just looked at, here, my 90 and 450, what is the difference in 90 and 450? Well, if you take 90 plus 360, which is one full rotation, 90 plus 360 gives me 450. So now, remember, on this picture, if I rotate this direction, that is a 90-degree angle. But because I rotated the other direction, it's negative 270. So what's the difference in 90 and negative 270? Well, if you take 90 degrees and subtract 360, it will give you negative 270. So if I ask you to find coterminal angles, what you're going to do is you are going to add or subtract 360 degrees. Or sometimes you're going to add or subtract multiples of 360. And when I say multiples of 360, that just means you've added in an extra rotation. Okay, every time you add a rotation, you're adding 360 degrees or subtracting 360 degrees. And if you do it more than once, then that is a multiple of 360. So here, if I take this angle measure of 385 and I ask for a positive coterminal, well, you can take 385 and add 360. If you do that, you get 745 degrees. But you could also take 385 and subtract 360, and that's still going to give me a positive angle measure. It's going to be 25 degrees. So which one of these is the answer I'm looking for? Well, they're both correct. They are both fine. If it just asks for a positive coterminal, either of those answers are good. If I ask for a negative coterminal from this original, we know that by subtracting 360, we get 25. That doesn't give me a negative angle. So I'm going to subtract 360 again, and that will give me negative 335 degrees. So I subtracted a multiple of 360 from here. I actually subtracted 720 to get this negative coterminal. So now, if I ask for a coterminal that was between 0 and 360, the answer you would have to give me is 25 degrees. So now I'm going to skip down to the bottom of this chart, and we're going to fill in that last row. The rest of these we'll do in class. I think you can do them on your own, but we're going to do them in class together. This is just kind of a preview here. So I'm going to take my negative 30. To get a positive coterminal, I have to add 360. Negative 30 plus 360 gives me 330 degrees. To find a negative coterminal, I'm going to take negative 30 and subtract 360, and that will give me a negative 390 degrees. For a coterminal that is between 0 and 360, well, that is 330 degrees. All right, we're going to stop this video here, and then we'll pick up in just a minute with radian measure.